Senator Eric Brakey is a politician up in Maine. He just won his seat by, I think, 62%. He's a libertarian. He found Rand Paul, ran his campaign up in Maine, I think, for 2012 for President of the United States, and feels passionately about the Fed. Welcome, Senator. How are you?
I'm doing well, Glenn. So glad to be on the program with you.
You bet. Okay, so tell me about, we have the Audit the Fed. We've passed that in Congress. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So what is it going to take to actually audit the Fed?
Well, it's passed in the House of Representatives 3 times, but when it gets to the Senate, suddenly the swamp creatures, mostly on the Democrat side of the aisle, block it from happening. And I'm sad to say one of our U.S. senators in Maine, actually Angus King, who I'm running against, is the only member of the Maine delegation who continues to oppose Audit the Fed, saying that it would somehow infringe on their independence as an organization if we, the American people, get to know what they're doing with our money.
In what world does anyone think that money should be handled without any check or balance?
Well, in the Communist Manifesto, actually, it's one of the core planks. The central bank is a core plank of the Communist Manifesto. Everything else in the economy, we let the market decide. But for some reason, for the price of money, it has been decided in 1913, as you mentioned, that we need to have a central bank telling us, dictating the price of money and the interest rates. This has led to so much chaos in our economy, from the Great Depression, as you mentioned, down all the way to the Great Recession and the huge popping of the housing bubble. And frankly, I'm worried right now as our economy is growing and lifting out of the doldrums of the Great Recession. So much of the trillions and trillions of dollars that has been printed over the last 10 years, what new bubbles have been created and what might be the new bubbles to pop as a result?
I talked to, I won't say, he's a very famed economist, has saved world economy several times before. When this first started, and I think we had probably only printed about $3 trillion, he said that would make the 1970s and 80s interest rate of 16 to 18% interest look small to try to pull that money back in. Have you heard anyone come up with a good logical way that they're going to handle deflation and inflation?
There's no way, once you've released the horses from the barn, there's no way you can close the gates after they've already escaped. Washington, D.C. is the richest region in America, and they managed to do this without actually producing anything of value. They all get all this money by stealing from us. Now we see the taxes they take directly from our paychecks, and we can see the $21 trillion debt that they've accumulated and are going to be robbing from our future. But we don't necessarily see the hidden tax, the inflation tax, the money that the value that they steal from every dollar in circulation. When you try to save for your retirement or save for your future, and your dollar is worth less tomorrow than it was worth today, that's what the Federal Reserve does when they're printing trillions and trillions of dollars. And when we look at the prices going up in healthcare and education, we look at how these in these industries, healthcare and education become less and less affordable for regular, everyday Americans. This is what's at stake, and this is what they're doing to our money.
So you are, but nobody understands that. I'm convinced that our education has been so poor on all of this that we deserve, what we're about to get. You're running against Angus King. He's an independent, but you're also, I can't. Pardon me?
He's an independent in name only, a fake independent.
Right, but you're also running against Zach Rigglestein, who is a Democratic socialist. Are they cannibalizing each other? Is that helping you at all?
A little bit. It's interesting. I don't think there's any U.S. Senate race in the country where you have such 3 distinctly clear choices between a socialist, a corporatist who wants the merger of corporations and government, big government feeding big corporations like Angus King does, and someone who believes in capitalism and real free markets and real liberty.
So how is the fight going for this? I'm assuming that you're running because you're as concerned as all of us that we are just headed towards insanity. How's the run going?
Yeah, well, it's going very well, and I'll tell you, for me, it started in 2010. I I was a college senior actually watching the Glenn Beck program as we saw the trillions and trillions of dollars in debt piling up. I realized that for my generation, the younger generation of Americans, we were really in trouble. The future that we were inheriting was not a good one. So I got involved as a political activist, got involved with Ron Paul's presidential campaign in 2012, ran for state senate 2 years later, beat an incumbent in a 20-point landslide. And I've been fighting for fiscal responsibility and for our Constitution and for our freedoms ever since. And now I'm ready to take that fight to Washington, D.C., because that's where the real beasts lie.
Senator, I wish you all the luck in the world. We need somebody to shake things up in Washington. God bless and thanks for joining us.